I think there's something maybe a bit backwards in the way that some people learn photography, in that there's an overemphasis on the tech side of it. And really, I'm here to tell you that you don't actually have to know to use your camera. You don't have to know everything about your camera in order to take an interesting picture. This is a story about the first HDR photograph I took, how it kind of changed my life, and how it kind of changed my view on getting a new perspective on things. When I was in Austin, Texas, about 8 years ago or so, is that about right? I don't know, it's a blur. But I went out to take a photo. There was this bridge called the 360 Bridge, and it went over the water, and it's a beautiful thing. There's an amazing sunset, and I had finally a good DSLR. I'd always wanted to take photos, so I got this DSLR. It's a Nikon D90 crop sensor back in the day. Anyway, so I thought, oh, this is a really good camera. It's actually quite expensive, one of the better cameras that money could buy. And I went out and I took a photo, and it was so boring. I go, how can this photo be so boring? Did I not press the button right? Am I really dumb? Am I incompetent? Or why can't this camera make that sunset look the way it actually felt inside and the way it actually looked to me? So I immediately did not accept the photo. I rejected it. So I jumped onto the internet to see what kind of things I could find to make the photo look better, all right? And I started doing some research, and I found that there had been all these research papers done at MIT and Stanford and all these places about high dynamic range. It really wasn't used for photos so much. It was kind of used for like satellite imagery or these kind of things. But the effect, of course, was to bring out more color, or take the color that was there and make it more pronounced by doing something called tone mapping. And I was confused and fascinated. So I immediately started taking some of these algorithms and jamming them through my photos, because I saw my photos as just a ball of data that I can manipulate. And maybe this came from my computer science and math background, but I just saw that file as something digital, just pure data, and I can manipulate that data however I wanted to with algorithms. So I started doing this, and what came out of the photo was so amazing. I was shocked. You know, maybe it was a little harsh back in the day, but it was really a new perspective on photography. And I was totally amazed and just pleasantly surprised, and that kind of gave me enough mojo to keep doing more and more. So I made more and more HDR photos. I experimented with the style, with different algorithms, with different situations, and I immediately started sharing this new perspective with the world on my blog, Stuck in Customs. Which it actually dates exactly to the day that I discovered HDR, I think. And it turns out that other people also like this new perspective on the world. It's so interesting, isn't it, that you kind of walk through the world, however many years you happen to be on the earth, and then you take a certain kind of photo or process it a certain way, and suddenly you have a new perspective on everything. And it kind of gives you like this invisible layer into the world. So I think if I had not been so sadly disappointed with that first photo, then it never would have changed my life the way it has. So I continue. I think we all, as photographers, continue to try to get a new perspective on things. And to me, one of the coolest things to come along in a long time are these quadcopters. And at first I was a little bit confused by them, and like, what are you going to use that thing for? It's kind of noisy or weird, or I don't really do video. I'm more of a photographer, so I was just sort of in this confused state. But the more I've used it, the more I've really kind of come to be at peace with it. And I do see this as another new way to get a new perspective on photography. And it all revolves around this idea that for years and years and years, photographers, we've always had our head very close to the camera, okay? So wherever our head is, we can take a photo, right? But if you think about it, that's a fairly arbitrary location for the camera to be. The camera doesn't actually have to be close to your head. As long as you're controlling it, you're picking the shot, this sort of thing. And this is sort of mind-blowing. If you can actually have this sort of separation, this bifurcation between the location of your head and the location of the camera, then you can do absolutely anything. I think we all know the perspective when we're trying to shoot something and we're like, okay, this looks pretty good, but then you get down lower and it looks even better. You're like, you know, because moving my head lower is even better. Maybe if I put my head another 50 feet over there, it's a better perspective on the situation. Well, this is the same thing. We've never really had the option to put our head like 50 feet higher or 100 feet higher. And when I look at some of the resulting photos that come out of this, I'm shocked at how different a scene can look from just 50 feet in the air. So that's why you know, I try to use this as much as possible to get a slightly new perspective on things. And I'll kind of tell you, I want to talk to a friend here. He's sitting right here. This is Dennis. Come on over, Dennis. I'm here in Botswana right now, and I got to be super good friends with this guy. This is super awesome, this dude. You should take off your sunglasses so people can see how cool you really are. Okay, so I want Dennis to kind of introduce himself, and we'll talk to him for a minute, and then we'll talk about this, and then you can fly it at the end if you want to.
Okay.
All right. All right. So start with tell us about who Dennis is.
I'm Dennis Smith, born on the south tip of the Okavango Delta, in a town called Mau. It's a town with a population of 60,000 people. We call it the headquarters of the tourism industry in Botswana because there's a town where we have got so many safari industries having their headquarters there. As you might have seen when you were flying in with the airport there, so much traffic coming in and out with those small aircraft. It's believed that our airport is the busiest airport in Africa because of those so much flights coming in and out of the Okavango Delta, bringing in and out the guests.
All right.
Beautiful place indeed to live. So Dennis started his guiding 4 years ago. Started guiding in Little Vumbra, went to Kijira. Currently he's based in Kwetsani, which is in the Jau Reserve, where I'm guiding you in.
Right. And tell us more about Dennis's safari expertise.
Okay. Dennis is one person who likes to do bedding. He also likes to do most of the game drives, mukoro. He also does some boating activities. So he's one guide who likes to be challenged. That's why you see he has been working in the Okavango Delta for the rest of his guiding. So to add to his guiding, he is also a keen photographer. Started being keen on photography 3 years back. So what led Dennis to start to be in photography? There was an incident when he was with the other guests watching the wild dogs killing an impala, but they didn't know that there was a leopard up on the tree. So after the dogs killed the impala, they left it to go and call the puppies. So they left the impala underneath the tree where the leopard was up. So the leopard tried to guard as much as he can before the dogs came in. But the dogs came. The moment the leopard tried to get the kill up on the tree, he fell with the kill. And then the dogs started to chase away the leopard. And then they started to gorge on their kill. So that really, it was a great moment for me as a guide. And then that really pushed me to get a camera, saying, what I have seen, if I could have got it in camera, I would be saying a different story. Maybe I've published my article in one of the leading magazines.
Right. And so how many safaris would you say you've been on in your life?
I've been on so many safaris. As I say, I've been on guiding for the past 4 years. And normally in the camps that I work 3 months and a month off. So which means if our camp is busy, it means that I work each and every day. So which means I'm always out for most of the 9 months that I work in the bush. And also Dennis is one person who likes to travel to take pictures. So you get to see that even if when he's on a month leave, then the first 2 weeks he used them to be with the family, and the last 2 weeks he used it for traveling.
And what kind of camera does he have?
Dennis, he shoots on a Nikon D3000 with a 55-200, and he shoots on a D7000 with an 80-400. And he also has an 18-55 lens.
Dennis has good equipment.
You can say so.
Yeah, Trey used to shoot all Nikon,
Yeah.
but now he shoots a bit more Sony.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So, you're an experienced photographer, you led all these safaris, you know the animals like the back of your hand. What did you think when you saw us show up with the quadcopter?
I was excited to see this machine, and I couldn't wait to see how it's being operated. So the first time we went out, I was so excited to see what it does.
And one thing I've found out, I'm not nearly as experienced as Dennis on on safaris is that you always listen to your guide, right? Like, I think immediately we saw this pride of lions, and we were all in this van. You know, there's probably 7 of us in the van, me, you, Belle, and a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, you know, why don't they just see this as a pizza delivery truck? They could just come pick whichever flavor of human they want. And you said, well, as long as we all stay together, they just sort of ignore us. And you said, if any one of us like gets out and moves away, that they'll just go pick you up as fast as lightning. So I've really learned to listen to the guides here.
Yeah, what happens is that because these animals get used to the vehicles, so they know the layout of the vehicles when they are still young. So we get to approach them till they get used to the vehicles. So the moment you stand up, you change out the layout of the vehicle. So that's when they will start to inquire what is happening that side.
Right.
Yeah. That's why we always say when we are in a sighting, please make sure that you stand still and you sit down, not standing up.
Right.
Yes.
So before I flew the quadcopter, we wanted to make sure you had your permission, and you were all for it. When we started to fly it, it didn't seem to bother the animals too much. Was that, especially those elephants at the end, that didn't surprise you?
No, it didn't surprise me because I think it was their first time also to see it. And also, as it is not noisy, it didn't bother them at all.
Yeah.
And also, as we were flying it, we were just flying it a bit higher from where they are.
Right.
So it really worked well for us.
Yeah, I think they were confused by it, kind of like our truck. They just sort of ignored it.
Yeah,
They heard a
they
thing
just
buzzing
ignored
up
it,
there,
yeah.
like, interesting, but went on around eating the grass and
And
stuff.
so fun.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, Dennis. We'll fly it right now if you like, okay?
Okay.
And I'll hand it over. You can fly it out there, maybe get some shots of the animals. All right, Dennis, you ready for some fun? I'll show you how this works.
Yes.
Okay? So this is a DJI Phantom quadcopter. All right, here, hold that for a second.
Yeah.
Don't press anything.
No,
just kidding. You won't mess anything up. And this is this particular model is called the Vision 2. I'll launch it for us,
Okay.
and then I'll hand over the control, and I'll show you how the controls work. Then I'll hand them over to you.
Yeah.
And there's all these baboons and all kinds of stuff out here, so we'll see what we can get. All right?
Yeah.
Cool.
So excited about this.
Yes. Okay, let me set it down like that. Okay, so to kind of warm it up or get it going, you take both of these, move them down like that. Okay?
Yeah.
So now it's sort of in this warm-up mode. Then when it comes time to launch, I'm just going to take this one and take it up with a bit of authority. Okay? So I usually like to get it up kind of above our heads just a little bit. All right?
Yeah.
And it should pretty much hover. All right? One important thing I've heard to tell you is there's these blinking lights on the bottom. If the green lights are blinking, that means we have at least 7 satellites. And the satellites are important for helping to keep it stable when it's in the air. All right, here we go. Okay, so we just kind of leave it like this. Oh wait, here, I'll show you how to do it first, and then I'll hand it over.
Okay.
Okay, so what we'll do is, this way is forward. Okay, it goes forward. Then I let go, and watch, it will come to a stop and just start to hover. Okay?
Yes.
This way is backwards, back towards us, which doesn't surprise you. Okay, and then there's left and right. Okay? So really, I think on your first flight, you could just do the right one, okay? And then slowly I'll have you do that one too.
Okay.
All right?
I want to try like going forward.
Yeah. Now if you want to go a little higher, take this one and move it up. You'll see it raise up in the air.
Like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I want to move to the left.
Yeah.
Let's go this side. Wow.
It's easy, isn't it?
Very easy.
And fun.
So much fun.
One thing I notice when I do this in public is the 2 groups of people that like this are guys and kids.
Yeah.
They all come up to me. Girls just look at me strangely, but that's nothing new.
No.
I know girls don't look at Dennis strangely.
I know. Can't look at me strangely.
Okay, so now we're going to try an advanced maneuver. Okay, so do you see this one?
Yes.
What do you think will happen if you move it to the left? It'll spin around.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. So you can turn it back and forth like that. But now, of course, right and left will be reversed. Yeah.
It's so
Now,
much fun.
there's one other thing here. On the back is this, okay? This takes the camera and aims it up or down. So that would be straight down, that's straight up, but you can put a little bit in the middle so it's aiming down a little bit. Okay, that's a nice perspective.
Yes, and then we can view the camp.
Yeah, view it back at camp. There's taking a shot of us now. Yeah. I'll aim the camera down so it's looking right at us, okay? Look at that landing.
It's awesome.
Let's work on and play with and talk about some of these quadcopter photos. All right. Let's do a quick adjustment to this one here. Here we are above some elephants. Awesome. You know a group of elephants? You know what it's called? It's called a memory of elephants. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Well, let's work on this one. All right. Maximize Lightroom here. I'll press D to jump into the Develop module. And, you know, we can always give ourselves a bit more space here in our situation. If you click on this little triangle thing, it'll pop over there. And this one, we're not going to do much to, I don't think. I'm going to show you one thing we're not going to do, and that is enable profile corrections. Because I feel like what has happened when you do that, I'm tempted to do it because you can see how the horizon is tilted like this because of the wide angle lens pointed a little bit down. That's what causes that. And if I straighten it, it does certainly fix that bit, but it also takes this elephant, the elephant buns, and make them stretch a little too wide that direction, don't they? So it just feels a little bit funny. I like this one a little bit better, and I think I'll just leave the curved horizon. Okay. I'll do a little bit of noise reduction as long as I'm down there. And let's go up here. Let's increase the warmth of it just a little bit. All right. Let's go ahead and crop in. Let's make the story more about these guys. Now when you crop in, your horizon won't quite match up anymore. So we need to re-tilt it here like this. All right. Just like that. Good. Very nice. All right. Maybe bring up the shadows here a little bit of contrast, amp it up. Yeah, that's good. Maybe not even so much cool warmth in there. All right, good. So that's kind of a good start for the photo. I'm not going to completely finish this one, but I'll tell you future things I'm going to do on it. One is to get rid of that road. I also might get rid of that Cape Buffalo because he feels a little too close to the edge. I might do something with the sky a little bit as well. All right. But let's go ahead and really work on this one because I like this photo so much. Let's fully realize this thing, okay? So the first thing we'll do here is we will adjust that profile correction like that. Okay, cool. I love her shadow, how it's so close to the shadows here, and just wonderful. Let's do a little bit of noise reduction because we did get some noise in the sky there. You might notice if we zoom in here, all this noise up here, I'm kind of surprised by it actually because it was a daytime shot. I think something else must have been going on with the camera, but it's easy enough to get rid of just like that. Then let's warm up the whole situation, okay? Just pull this up a little bit. And watch, if I warm it up, the whole sky kind of loses its blueness, doesn't it? And that's not so good. So if we just want to warm up the bottom, so to speak, you can click this thing. This is the graduated filter. We can pull up from the bottom like that. But then we can still grab it and move it around even more and really warm it up like this. Okay. That way, just the bottom part is getting nice and warm. Okay. Let's move that up even more. So we warm up that whole sand dune back there. And I might drop another one down. Watch this. It's a double-double. I'm going to pull it up again, move it up like this, and let's just increase the exposure. Let's make that sand even a little bit wider. Okay, awesome. Look at that. Doesn't it look cool? Very, very nice. Already looking better, I say. Close. You can pull down a gradient from the sky and just mess with the tones of blue here a little bit. Maybe we try to cool it off a little bit. Looks nice, a little more contrast. Very cool. All right, looking good. Close. Yeah. So there's one more thing I like to do to this photo, and that is to exaggerate the height of this peak. This peak is huge. I mean, that's the one we walked up to, Big Daddy, but it doesn't look that big here, does it? So let's just do a little thing to make that, to tweak it out a little bit, okay? So I'm going to go edit in Adobe Photoshop. Say edit. And this is kind of a nice little trick. I don't do it that often, just on occasion when I want to exaggerate something. Now, what we're going to do here is I'm going to duplicate this layer, okay? All right. And we're going to do something called puppet warp. So I'm going to say edit puppet warp. All right, let me turn off this mesh here. So I'm just going to start dropping pins around like this. Okay, what are you doing dropping these pins? Well, if you can imagine this like a tapestry, okay, and I can kind of poke and prod and pull things around, okay? Like I could even pick her head and I can like move her around a little bit. And you see how everything else moves around this, but not so close to the pins. The pins keep other things kind of still. I'm going to right click and say delete pin there. But that's how this works. So basically I can take this peak here and pull it up and make it even higher. Okay. And I'm going to take this one and pull it down a little bit. I'll pull up the sky a little bit here. Just pull it down just a bit. Maybe pull this side up a little bit too. I kind of like to have the mountains exit the screen at the same point, if you know what I mean. Yeah, that looks good. Maybe make it a little bit taller because I want this to be the tallest thing there. Awesome. Okay, then I'll hit enter. And you kind of see that peak jump up there into the sky, and it looks very nice now, doesn't it? Cool. All right, that's quite a difference. Now looking at this photo, I feel like it's stretched a little bit on the sides. Okay, so we're going to do one final tweak on it. I'm going to select these two and combine them into one. And I'm going to just select the left side of it here, maybe all the way up to the head of her shadow. And I'm going to right click and say free transform. And if I squeeze it in a little bit, it gets rid of some of that stretching. Same thing over here. Do you see how this is a little bit stretched? We're going to go ahead and do this again. Oops, apply, yes. I should have hit enter there for apply. I'll pull it out across this side of the photo, and I'm going to transform it. Again, I'm going to right click and say free transform and pull it in a little bit so it's not quite so stretchy stretch. I hit enter. Good. Now we need to crop all that nonsense off, so I'll click the crop tool, pull this across like so, comme ça, looking good, and now just hit enter. Good, there we are, good to go. Awesome. So let's go back and look at the original again. Sorry, let me go, I can just go ahead and save this and then quit, and then go back, I already saved that one, and then go back into Lightroom here. And this is what we started with. Let me just go to and reset it. So we went from that to that. Okay, that which was kind of cool, a little bit warped, a little noisy, to this, which is just cleaner and more interesting, I think. Cool. All right, let me pop over and show you some of my favorite other recent quadcopter shots and just kind of talk about this new perspective kind of thing. So this is where I really started flying it quite a bit, was in China. This is me do these photo walks around the world, and this is, as the people were gathering, I just had to do a little flight and take some photos and kind of show people how it worked. People love these things. And here's some other shots from China. This is the Forbidden City, and this is the first time a photo of the Forbidden City has ever been taken like this, from this perspective, because you can't fly helicopters there, no private helicopters, and certainly no quadcopters. In fact, my quadcopter was quite illegal. I ended up getting arrested or detained, and it's quite a story there. I have it all on the blog if you want to read about it. It's a longer story. Here's another shot from Beijing. This is in the CBD, the Central Business District. And that building there is an awesome building, but they call it the Metal Underpants for obvious reasons. Here is the bell tower. Again, the only way to get this perspective is just to get up there. There's no the shot just looks totally different from the ground. Here's another one of these wonderful new perspectives. Looking straight down is just unbelievably cool, I think. You can see all those kind of red tucks there, and you can even see me right there in the middle. I'm kind of holding the controller, and everyone else is looking up, and there's some dude with his shirt off, and yeah, it's I just love looking at this perspective. I never get tired of it. Here's another thing that was kind of fun. We used it quite a bit in Morocco too. This is up in Fez, and down there on the right you can see my friends Anna and Anton, and they were with me. They came from SmugMug, and he was using this to film me for a new video that SmugMug was doing, and we just had a ton of fun with this thing. It was amazing. Of course, here's the shot we just worked on. Now let me show you some Burning Man shots that I took. And actually these two kind of remind me of each other, don't they? These people in the desert, I think it's so confusing. Why are these people on bikes? And I think their shadows are so cool as well. Sometimes you're not sure if it's the shadow or them. And then there's this other vehicle in the middle. And I just like the way people are scattered around and the pattern. And having sort of this clean background is very interesting, I think. Here's another shot that I took during a sandstorm. You can see some of this amazing art there, like people are crawling up inside of there. I just found the perspective to be so nice, because when I was on the ground, I couldn't see a thing. I had to get up there, and I could see what was going on. Here's another one. And again, you can get these kind of shots from a helicopter, but it's so dang inconvenient and expensive. And if you're going to fly a helicopter right here, you would just like completely sandblast everybody down there. Yeah. Here's one of my final favorite shots for Burning Man. It kind of helps to show the perspective of it all. At least one of my favorite quadcopter shots. Yeah. Let me take it full circle back to Africa. This is in Soweto. These are the townships where I was with all those kids and taking pictures of people. And when you're down there in the middle of it all, there's so much action and it's exciting and colorful and so on and so forth. But then when you get up here, you kind of see a little bit of some patterns starting to form. There's a little bit less chaos, a little bit more order. I think that's sort of a nice idea, that the more perspective you have on things, the more order you can see in the chaos. All right, well, thank you for joining me for this episode, and I will see you again soon. I think we all know art when we see it, don't we? Because it resonates with us. We kind of get a glimpse of the divine.